The sun burned hot above the alien market. The air smelled of sweat, dust, and old metal. Traders shouted prices. Slaves stood in lines, some were chained. Some were too weak to stand. No one looked happy. In the center of the square stood a wooden platform. On it, a young alien girl stood barefoot. Her clothes were torn. A thin chain wrapped around her wrists. Her eyes were wide and scared. "She's a personal slave." The fat alien trader shouted, "Half price! For personal use only." "Barely trained," the crowd laughed. A few aliens whistled. One threw a rotten fruit at her. It hit her shoulder. She didn't move. The girl didn't cry. She had no more tears. She just looked down at her feet. Her name had been taken long ago. She was only called number 47 now. Just a number. "Come on." The trader yelled. 10 coins, only 10 coins. Who wants her?" No one answered. "Too skinny. She looks broken." "Why would I pay for that trash?" The trader frowned. He kicked the wooden platform. "Fine, 5 coins, just 5. Still no one spoke. The girl swayed. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. Her legs shook. Her body was covered in old bruises. Then a quiet voice spoke. "I'll take her." The crowd turned. A human man stood near the back. His clothes were plain, dusty. He looked poor. He stepped forward, holding out a small pouch. The trader laughed. "You, a human? Are you sure you have the money?" The man opened the pouch. 10 silver coins. All he had. The trader's eyes widened. "You really want this one?" The man nodded. "Yes, I do." The trader shrugged. "She's yours, human. Don't blame me if she dies in a week." The girl blinked, confused. She looked up at the human. He didn't look cruel. He didn't smile. But he didn't seem angry either. His face was calm. The chain around her wrist was unlocked. For the first time in years, she was unchained. She stepped forward slowly. Her legs almost gave out. The human caught her before she fell. She flinched. He didn't hurt her. He just held her steady and said, "Easy, you're safe now." Safe? The word felt strange. As they walked away from the market, the girl looked back. The trader was already shouting about the next slave. The crowd had forgotten her, but the human hadn't. She whispered, "Why me?" The man looked down at her. "You looked cold." That was all he said. They reached a small room near the edge of the city. It was simple. A bed, a table, a lamp. The man gave her a blanket and pointed to the bed. "Rest." She stood there, shaking. "Do you want me to do something?" He frowned. "No, you're not a slave anymore." Her eyes filled with tears. She didn't understand. "But I don't know how to be free." He gave her water. "Then we'll learn together." That night, she didn't sleep. She lay on the soft bed, staring at the ceiling. She wasn't in a cage. No chains. No locked doors. The human slept on the floor. She whispered to the dark, "Why did you buy me?" The man didn't answer. He was already asleep, but one thing was clear. She wasn't just a personal slave anymore. Something had changed. The world would never be the same. She didn't run. She didn't sleep. She just sat there, on the edge of a soft bed, staring at her hands. No chains. No collar. No orders. The room was quiet. Too quiet. For the first time in years, no one shouted at her. No one touched her. No one threw food at her like she was an animal. The human, her new owner, had placed a folded blanket in her lap, handed her clean water, and said 5 strange words before walking away. "You're not a slave anymore." But what did that mean? He slept on the floor. On purpose, he had told her, "The bed is yours." She had never heard that before. "The bed is mine?" She whispered again to herself. She didn't lie down. She didn't feel like she deserved to. Instead, she watched him from the corner of her eye. He didn't snore. He didn't even move much, but he looked peaceful. Why would someone spend their last coin for someone like her. Morning came. The human man stood up and stretched. His back cracked loudly. He looked at her and smiled gently. "You didn't sleep?" She shook her head. "You hungry?" She opened her mouth to say no, but her stomach growled loudly. He smiled again and handed her a warm piece of bread. She stared at it, confused. "You can eat," he said softly. "It's yours." She took it slowly and held it in both hands like it was treasure. She didn't bite it yet. She just looked at it. Smelled it, warm bread, not moldy scraps. Not stolen. Give him. Freely. As she sat on the bed, holding the bread, she asked, "Why did you sleep on the floor?" He poured water into a metal cup. "Because you've been through enough." Her eyes watered. No one had ever cared how she felt. "Not in years. Maybe not ever. You don't want me to serve you?" He looked up. "No. You don't want to use me?" He frowned. "Never." She didn't understand. "Then why did you buy me?" He paused. For a moment, he looked like he wasn't sure how to answer. Then he said something she would remember for the rest of her life. "Because someone should have saved you a long time ago." She tried to help him clean later that day, but she dropped a dish. It shattered. She fell to the floor quickly, hands shaking, waiting for punishment. But he didn't shout. He just walked over, knelt beside her, and picked up the pieces. "No big deal," he said. "It's just a plate." She stared at him in shock. He saw her tears and gently said, "You don't have to be afraid here." That night, she lay on the bed again. This time, she pulled the blanket over her body. She still didn't feel free. Not yet, but something had changed, for the first time in her life. She was not someone's property. She was just a girl. She woke up and panicked. The bed was soft. The room was quiet. The door was open. Open? Her heart pounded. Where were the guards? Where was the whip? Why wasn't she locked in? She jumped from the bed and dropped to her knees, pressing her forehead to the floor. Old habits. Moments later, she heard calm footsteps behind her. "Why are you kneeling?" The human asked gently. She whispered, "I thought I overslept." "You can sleep as long as you want," he replied. "No one owns your time anymore." But those words didn't make sense. No one had ever said that to her. Later that day, she tried to be useful. She grabbed a rag and began scrubbing the floor. Human saw her and said, "You don't need to clean." She looked up quickly, afraid. "Did I do it wrong?" "I can try harder. Please don't send me back." He shook his head. "No, I'm not angry. I just want you to rest." She didn't know what rest meant. Not really. So she cleaned harder, thinking it would please him. But when she broke a small glass while washing dishes, she froze in terror. Her hands started to shake. She whispered, "Please don't hit me. I didn't mean to break it." The man slowly walked over. She closed her eyes, expecting pain, but instead, he crouched and gently placed his hand on hers. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said softly. Tears fell from her eyes without warning. That evening, he made food. Simple soup with vegetables. He gave her a full bowl. She looked at it, confused. "You're not eating first?" "No," he replied. "Ladies first." Ladies? She had been called many names: pet, trash, object, but never lady. She took one spoonful. It was hot. It burned her tongue. She dropped the spoon and gasped. He looked worried. "You okay?" She nodded quickly. Yes. Just not used to hot food." The man gave her a soft smile. "We'll go slow. One day at a time." That night, she stood by the window. Outside, aliens walked past, living normal lives. She had never walked freely through a city. She touched the glass and whispered, "I don't know how to live." The human heard her. He stood beside her but didn't speak for a moment. Then he said, "You don't have to figure it all out now. Just breathe, eat, rest." "But what am I now?" she asked. "If I'm not a slave, then what?" He looked at her carefully. "You're someone," he said. And that's enough. She didn't know what future waited for her. She didn't even know how to smile yet. But for the first time in her life, she was beginning to believe maybe she was someone. And maybe, just maybe, this human wasn't her owner. Maybe. He was her beginning. She was smiling. A small one, barely there, but it was real. For the first time in her life, she had a warm meal, clean clothes, and a quiet place to rest. She even helped him wash fruit that morning, and when he told her, "Thank you," her heart skipped a beat. No one had ever thanked her. Not once. That afternoon, he gave her a long coat. "For you," he said. "If you're ready, we can go to the market together." Her hands trembled as she held the coat. You want me to walk with you in public?" He nodded. "Yes, beside me." Her throat tightened. Like I'm your equal?" He smiled. "You are." She looked down at her feet, biting her lip to stop the tears. Then slowly she nodded. I want to try." The streets were busy, so many aliens. So many eyes. She stayed close to him, holding the coat tightly around her body like a shield. Some people looked at her. Some whispered. But the human never let go of her hand. And just when she started to breathe a little easier, a voice cut through the crowd. Like a blade. Well, look what we have here." She froze. Her heart stopped. That voice, she knew it. Hark El. A cruel alien from her old owner's circle. He had used her before, mocked her, hurt her. Now he stood just a few feet away, smirking. He was tall, armored, and confident. "She's mine," Harkle growled, stepping closer. "Stolen property." The human stepped in front of her without hesitation. "She belongs to no one." "She was marked," Harkle snarled. "She's a personal slave. That means she can't be freed." "She's free now," the human said calmly. "I paid for her. Fair and legal." Harkle's eyes burned. "You think you can protect her? You think the law cares about one worthless girl?" The girl's knees felt weak. She wanted to run, hide, vanish. But then, the human reached back and gently held her hand, warm, steady, unshaking. "Touch her again," he said, his voice quiet but firm, "and I'll break your hand." The crowd fell silent. Harkle laughed once, darkened low, then stepped back. "Fine, for now. But she'll never be free." "Not really." He disappeared into the crowd. They walked home in silence. She stared at the ground, ashamed. "I brought trouble to you." The human stopped and turned to her. "No, you brought truth to me." She looked up, confused. He continued, "You showed me how cruel this world is, and how brave someone must be to survive it." She didn't answer. Her eyes filled again. But this time, she didn't hide her tears. That night, she sat at the window again. But this time, she wasn't afraid of the street below. She whispered. He said, "I'll never be free." The human looked up from where he was fixing a chair. "You already are," he said. "They just don't know it yet." Asterisk, the note was small. Just a piece of folded paper on the wooden table. The human found it when he woke up. His bed still untouched. His floor empty. He opened the note with steady hands. "Thank you, but you deserve better than someone like me." His heart sank. She was gone. Hours earlier, before the sun rose, she stood at the door, shaking. Her fingers touched the handle, then pulled back. 3 times she tried to open it. Each time her breath caught in her chest. But in the end, she walked out, not because she wanted to, because she thought he was too good for her. She walked the empty streets like a shadow, hiding her face beneath the long coat he gave her. No one stopped her. No one looked twice. She didn't know where she was going. She didn't care. He spent everything on me, she thought. And for what? I'm still broken. She reached a cold alley, curled up against a wall, and pulled the coat tighter around her body. She hadn't taken food or water, just her guilt. "I don't deserve a kind man," she whispered into the darkness. Back at the house, the human packed quickly. He asked the baker, the old vendor, the stable boy. No one had seen her until one old alien woman nodded and pointed. She went that way, looked sad. He ran. He found her hours later, curled up behind a pile of crates. Her lips were blue. Her body was shivering. She didn't see him at first. She was too tired. Too cold. When he knelt beside her and rapped his arms around her, she gasped, "No, don't, please, I didn't mean." But he didn't shout. He didn't scold. He just whispered, "You left. But I'm still here." She looked up, tears falling silently. "Why did you come?" She asked. "Because you're mine," he said. "Not as a slave. Not as a thing." He pulled the coat tighter around her shoulders. "You're mine because I chose you." Back at home, he made her sit by the fire, fed her slowly, gave her warm tea. She didn't speak for a long time, but when she finally did, it was a whisper. "I thought I was saving you from me." He smiled gently. "No one saves me. You're the only thing that's made me feel alive in a long time." She covered her face with her hands and sobbed. But this time, they were not tears of pain. They were tears of being wanted. That night, she lay on the bed again, but this time she reached out and held his hand. She didn't run, because now she wanted to stay. The ring wasn't made of gold. It wasn't shiny. It didn't sparkle in the light. It was made from a piece of scrap metal, gently shaped by a human hand, and it was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. She found it sitting in the middle of the table, resting on a folded cloth. She stared at it for a long time, afraid to touch it. When the human walked in, he saw her staring. "You found it," he said softly. Her voice trembled. "Is this for someone else?" He shook his head, smiling. "No, it's for you." She froze. "Why?" She whispered. He pulled a chair and sat across from her. "Because I don't want a slave," he said. "I don't want a servant. I want a partner. I want a wife." Her breath caught. No one had ever asked her anything. She had only been taken, used, sold. But this man, he was asking, "You want me as your wife?" She asked as if the idea itself was too heavy to believe. He nodded once. "If you say yes." She touched the ring with shaking fingers. "I'm not beautiful," she whispered. "I'm not whole. I'm still scared every day." He leaned closer. "You're brave every day. You fight your fear. That's real beauty. I don't know how to be someone's wife. Then we'll learn together." She picked up the ring but didn't wear it yet. Tears ran down her face, slow and quiet. And then she looked him in the eye for the first time and nodded. Yes, he didn't cheer. He didn't shout. He just reached out, took her hand, gently, and slid the ring onto her finger. Her hand didn't feel like a slave's anymore. It felt like it belonged. That evening, they shared dinner together, not as master and servant, but as equals. She laughed once, a small laugh. He looked up, surprised. She covered her mouth, embarrassed. "I've never laughed before," she admitted. "Then let this be your first of many," he said with a smile. Outside, the wind howled. But inside that little house, there was warmth, not from fire, from two broken people learning how to love. Asterisk. The market was loud, as always. Traders shouted. Children laughed. Drones buzzed above. Aliens moved in every direction. But one thing made everyone stop and stare. Not a fight. Not a sale. Not a scandal. It was a human man, walking hand in hand with a girl who used to be a slave. Only this time, she walked tall. Her back was straight. Her eyes didn't look down, and she didn't walk behind him. She walked beside him. Her coat was no longer torn. Her hair was brushed. Her face, once dull and empty, now carried light. She still remembered the pain, the cages, the hands, the cold nights alone. But now when people looked at her with shock or disgust, she looked right back, because she knew who she was now. Wife, A woman. A person. They walked past the slave traders. The same place where she was once offered for 5 coins and laughed at. Now the same trader saw her. And his jaw dropped. He whispered to someone beside him, "That's the same girl." But she didn't hear him. She was too busy choosing fruit for dinner, laughing softly when the human made a joke. Touching his arm without fear, one bold alien stepped forward. "You really married her?" He asked the human, almost mocking. The human nodded, yes. But she was just a pleasure slave, broken. The human's eyes narrowed. His voice was calm but sharp. She was never broken. The world just refused to see her worth. That night, back at home, she sat by the window, but now, she wasn't watching the world. She was planning her future. "Want to learn to read," she told him. "I want to work. I want to help." He smiled, proud. "Whatever you want, we'll do it." She looked down at her hand, the small metal ring still shining under the lamp. Not fancy, not expensive, but it meant everything. Before sleeping, she whispered something she had never said to anyone in her life. "Thank you for seeing me." The human touched her face gently. "Thank you for staying." And just like that, the girl who was once sold for almost nothing now slept in peace beside the only man who gave her everything. Not because she was perfect, not because she was useful, but because she was herself. And that was enough.